Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name's Dustin. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at ILS. There's a lot of really great tutorials out there that go really deeply in depth into how to do an ILS approach. This is not that video. Today we're going to go over the basics, point A to point B, the simple way. Coming from a dummy himself, this is the Dummy's Guide to ILS Approaches in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Without any further delay, let's get to the video. Today we're going to be looking at the 4 parts of an ILS approach: the flight planning, the charts, the approach, and the landing. If you like what you see, we'd love to have you join us over on Twitch. We stream every Tuesday and Saturday. We're planning a very big stream for Halloween, perhaps even a giveaway. Additionally, all of our social media accounts can be found in the description below. I think that pretty much wraps it up for the shameless plugs, so let's go ahead and hop in the simulator. Alright, so here we are. We're going to start at Concord Regional and fly to Charlotte Douglas International, super short flight. When you plug it in, this is the path that the game gives us, okay? So there's a couple things we have to do to make sure we're set up for an IFR approach. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is go IFR, low altitude airways. And in this particular instance, nothing changes. However, occasionally you'll get extra points that reroute you from your starting airport all the way out here somewhere, maybe then back into your destination. A direct departure is fine for us today, but we are going to change approach from automatic to ILS for 18 right in this case. So that gives us this big old loop out here, big old loop. And what that does for us is gives us points along this path. You see Rudski, Nella, Woven, Emmers, J Hunt, and then Charlotte Douglas International. These are going to be very important points in just a little bit. Next thing you're going to want to do is double check, zoom in to your destination. See how we've got our magenta line that's going all over the place? Just because we set this airport as our destination, make sure you set the correct runway as your destination so you get rid of these extra magenta lines here. We'll zoom in now. And it's fixed. We've got to reselect the approach. It's okay. There we go. The next thing you're going to want to do is find an Airport ILS map for this. These can be found on a bunch of different websites. This is the one that I found most helpful. Gives you all the information you could possibly want. Then you're going to want to scroll down here to Instrument Approach Procedures and find our runway. ILS or LOC for runway 18 right. And it gives us this chart. You'll notice if I zoom in, specifically down here, these are the points that it added in the game for us. Rudski, Nella, Woven, Emmers, J Hunt, etc. Just to cross-reference, again, Rudski, Nella, Woven, Emmers, Rudski, Nella, no, Woven, Emmers. The other thing that's important is the altitudes here for each of these. As we pass by Rudski, we need to be at 7,000, Nella at 6, Woven at 5, and so on and so forth. Again, I will say that this is not the FAA correct way to run an ILS approach. This is the way that I found it most helpful for me inside of the world of Microsoft Flight Simulator. So now that we have both of these things, the map and the low altitude airways IFR set up in Microsoft Flight Simulator, we can go ahead and fly. Today we're going to use real world conditions, and it's pretty sunny outside here in North Carolina right now. So it'll help you kind of see what's going on, but you can use this in any weather condition. That's kind of the point. So let's get into the game and see what's up. First things first, we're going to set up Autopilot, because assuming you'd fly the IFR in some nasty conditions, we're going to turn nav mode on. Just for this example, we know we have to cross through our first point, which is, what is it, Rudski? Let's check. Rudski at 7,000. So we're going to make sure that we set our altimeter for 7,000. Our autopilot for 7,000. Boom. And we're going to go ahead and turn vertical speed mode on and give that a nice few bumps. We'll go at 1,000 feet a minute. And leave autopilot off, so as soon as we click autopilot, it'll do these things for us. We're going to assume everything's been taken care of. We are cleared for takeoff, and we will rock and roll here. Taking off Flaps are already set when we spawn here on the runway. It's wanting to pull to the left just like it should. Airspeed's alive. And here we go. Rotate. We are up. Gears coming up. A little windy. Go ahead and pull the throttle back just a hair. Flaps coming up. And we are going to set autopilot. And turn off yaw damper. There we go. So we are climbing out at a rate of about 1,000 feet a minute. And we are following our magenta line. As you can see here on our map, all of our points are plugged in. Rudski, Nella, Woven, all the way in to the runway at Charlotte. We're going to let the autopilot do most of the work. So I'll see you about right here, probably about a minute and a half before Rudski. That's the next time we needed to do anything. So I'll see you then, and we'll let autopilot do most of the work. So the reason we're calling this the Dummies Guide is because there's a lot of other things that need to happen. You have to plug in nav frequencies and things like that. And it just gets really complicated and overbearing, but all that's taken care of when you plug it into when you plug your chart, your path into the flight planner in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So as you can see, we're about coming up on 7,000 feet here, and we're pretty close to Rudski. It's a very short flight for us. We'll show you this on the map here. We're here. There's Rudski. Airplane's making this turn on its own by using nav mode. The two buttons that we're going to need to really keep an eye on here today are the approach button and also this active nav button. Right now we are set to MFS. The setting that we'll eventually need here is VOR1. So I just clicked it and the plane snapped out of its direction. So we're going to follow the magenta line again, turn nav mode back on. We are at 7,000 feet. As we come around to Rudski, I'll pull up the map here. As we come around to Rudski, we might not be established on the localizer. We might not have the localizer right away. So we're going to put the plane into a nice shallow descent, and then we're going to keep checking back. And again, I don't know if this is probably not the correct way to do it. I have found this to be the easiest way for the average simmer to take care of ILS approaches. So we're going to keep checking and flipping between nav mode and VOR1. We're going to switch our nav modes. Just keep in mind, every time you switch your nav mode, your turn nav mode on is going to change. It's not going to be following the correct path anymore. So as we approach Rudski, just before we get there in supposedly 30 seconds, we're going to switch to approach mode. We're going to click the approach button. It's going to turn off the nav button. We're also going to set, let's do this now, set our altitude knob to 1,500 feet. It doesn't have to be that. That's just the number I like, so I don't have to worry about it for a little while. I wonder if we can click arm approach now. Okay, so we have clicked the approach button, and we are still holding our line here as we approach Rudski. We're getting pretty close to it now. Should come into picture any minute now. Here's Rudski. We're going to pull the throttle back just a little bit. And remember, Rudski by 7, and then the next point, what's the next point? Let's see. Nella by 6. So we're going to help guide it in here. Nella by 6. We're going to go ahead and do vertical speed mode and start a slight descent. A little early here, but that's okay. Doesn't have to be exact. There we go. There's Rudski. And here's where we're going to start to check start to switch between our nav modes here. So we don't have the localizer yet. Switch back here. Arm the approach rather, not nav. Okay. You can actually see the runway way out there in the distance, and we are in line for it. So things are looking good. We are way high right now. Remember, Rudski by 7, Nella by 6. Well, we're not too bad, actually. This is a pretty quick rated descent. So we're going to just mitigate that just a little bit here. Partially by throttling back, and partially by increasing the rate of descent there. I check for the localizer past every one of these points, so we're pretty good here. Nella, we're gonna pass through 6 here in just a second, so we're looking okay. Things are looking good. We're passing Nella, so let's check and see if we have the localizer. Switch to VOR. Nope, the arrow's still pointing behind us. We're looking for a green arrow in front of us. Switch back to the magenta, arm the approach. We're gonna get back on it. Just monitoring our altitude. Remember, woven by 5 by woven. Here's 5,000 feet. Here's woven. So that'll put us on the correct glide slope. Minimize that. We're at 5.5, about halfway. Looking good. We can see the runway. This is what I would consider a final approach. This all happens pretty quick. Okay. So you got to be pretty mindful about what's happening here. This is the part where it can get a bit overwhelming and a bit tricky right off the bat if you're not careful. A little high still. We're gonna go ahead and bring that down because we're supposed to be at 5 by woven, and we're gonna be just about perfect. Little late to it. We're gonna check again. VOR still not on. What we need. Arm the approach. Our next point is we passed woven. Emmers, 4,000 at Emmers. Here's Emmers. We're going to increase the rate of descent just a little bit here. And I'm sure there's a way to tell if you're on the right track or not, but I've had a easier time just doing it this way, if this is exactly what you're supposed to do or not. Emmers, we're closing in on halfway, a little past halfway. Yep, we're okay. And when we pass Emmers, that's normally when I'm able to pick up the localizer. And again, I'm not touching the flight stick at all. The only thing I'm touching is the throttle. So we're going to switch to Emmers here in just a second. We've got the localizer. We can see this. Watch this. We click the button. Localizer is good to go. We have the green arrow pointing forward towards the runway. The other thing you're going to want to do here is turn off the vertical speed mode. And from here, your plane is pretty much going to fly itself in. We're going to go ahead and drop 1 notch of flaps. Big things to make sure here, that the arrow is pointing forward towards your runway, and this green dot you see right here, this is our altitude, okay? So it's telling us we're a little low because the green dot's above where we are right now, okay? We've dropped 1 notch of flaps. Gear's going to come pretty soon. There's the gear. And our only job right now is to watch speed. That's the only thing I'm touching is the throttle. This will get us almost down to the runway. You can see where this could be incredibly useful if there were lots of clouds and bad weather and wind and all that stuff. But just for the purpose of demonstration here, we picked a nice blue sunshine day. Coming into Charlotte International Airport on 18 right. We're just monitoring speed here at this point. Monitoring speed. Here's J Hunt. Let's take a look at our little map here again. J Hunt, 3,000 by J Hunt. Let's take a look. We're a little low as we pass J Hunt, so hopefully it'll correct for it. Not quite sure why it hasn't done that yet. Have you ever been driving and your GPS tells you to go one way and you're like, I'm not so sure about that? That's pretty much what's happening here. We're trusting that this green dot is going to come back and join our little arrow here, and it seems to be doing that. It's taking a little bit of time. Okay. We've passed AWWD, and our altitude past that is 2,400, supposed to be, and that looks about right. As you can see, our little green dot's coming back. We are online for the runway here. Things are looking good. Gear is down, flaps are at 1. We're going to put down the landing flaps in just a second here. Pull back on the throttle just a bit. Little fast coming in. And here come the flaps. Okay, speed's dropping. Touchdown speed for us is right at 95 knots, so we're going to make sure we don't get too slow here. Pushing the throttle, pushing the throttle, pushing the throttle. Little slow, little slow, little slow, little slow. There we go. Starting to climb back up to 95. Okay, I'm not touching anything other than the throttle at this point. Altitude looks good. Green arrow still pointing forward. As you can see, We are right on line for where we need to be. Speed's looking good. At the last second here, I'll take control of the aircraft and put her down on the runway. And we'll call it an ILS landing. So this is the, again, I'll put this disclaimer out here again. This is the poor man's, this is the ILS for dummies. This is the simple version. This is not the correct version. This is if you're flying in on air and you really want to fly, but there's bad weather and you can't change the weather settings, this is a great way to get around it. Those of you that just want to try out ILS approaches, this is a great way to get into it. There's a lot of other tutorials I'll link in the description below that offer much more in-depth descriptions of how to do a proper ILS landing. So here we are. I'm going to take off autopilot. I have control of the aircraft. And we're going to pull back the throttle and flare the aircraft. And we're going to butter this egg roll right here. There it is. Yeah, very nice. Excellent, good stuff. I hope you've enjoyed this sort of tutorial. If you have, feel free to drop a like. That'll help the YouTube algorithm. Drop a comment. Tell me what your favorite plane is when you're going to try this out. Also, let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future. If so, I'd be happy to make them. I thoroughly enjoy it. Again, one more shameless plug. We'd love to see you over on Twitch. We stream every Tuesday and Saturday. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will catch you in the next one. Have a great day.